Hi everyone, Chris here. Hope that you're all doing well, and welcome to today's demo lesson. So, as you probably know, if you've known me for any length of time, you'll know that I like to always try new things and try new ways to deliver lessons to you guys and try new teaching techniques. So I was trying to think of different ways to do these task two demos. And I was thinking back to when I used to teach face-to-face in classrooms. And there were a couple of ways that I used to teach IELTS writing task 2, also task 1. And I was trying to think of, could I do that online? One of the ways that I used to teach IELTS writing task 2 was one of the things that students have a problem with is number one, thinking of ideas, but number two, getting out of exam mode and relating questions to real life. Because I think that like all of you are intelligent people, all of you have no problem discussing any of these topics, but I think that sometimes when you look at the questions, that often you separate an IELTS Task 2 question from real life. And really what they want to know, and really what you use to answer these Task 2 questions is real life. So a technique that I used to use was I would read a story from my life that's very closely related to an IELTS writing task 2 question. So it helps with listening, obviously, but it will give you a really good sense of the different ideas that you could use, the different language that you could use, the vocabulary. So let's try it out. If it doesn't work, you can tell me it, and I'll never do it again. But I think it will work. It always worked really, really well. So the question that I'm going to focus on are, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Because all of these do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages questions are really just about life. Because anything in life, I don't care if you're a billionaire or, or you're a homeless person, every situation has advantages and disadvantages. So a billionaire, the disadvantage of being a billionaire is, you're not really, well, there are not many disadvantages of being a billionaire, actually. There's a lot of things that having billions of dollars can solve. But let's just say they might be a little bit materialistic, for example. Being a homeless person obviously has huge disadvantages, but obviously they don't have, the same amount of a lack of freedom. They can go anywhere they want, or they don't really have a lot of work-related stress, for example. I'm sure they do have stress, in their lives as well. But the point is that every situation has advantages and disadvantages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read my story related to this question that I'm going to give you. And then what I'd like you to do is you don't copy my story, but take the themes and the ideas and the vocabulary and all those different things and try and create your own essay from it. So I'll put the question below in the video and above, but I'll read the question to you. It is a common aspiration among many young people to run their own business rather than work for an employer. Do you think the advantages of working for yourself outweigh the drawbacks? So when I saw that question, I thought like I could definitely do this type of lesson for you guys, because it directly speaks to my story and what happened to me. So now I'm going to read to you, or I've made some notes about my story, and I'm going to read these out to you. Okay, so when I first started working as a teacher, I was quite happy because I really loved teaching students. But as I started to get to know the business a little bit, I became very, very unhappy. So the school that I taught at before I set up IELTS Advantage, I'm not going to name the school because it's quite a famous school, two things that I didn't really like. Number one, I didn't like the way their curriculum, the way they were teaching students. They brought in a brand new curriculum. So before the new curriculum came in, They had some of the best not IELTS teachers, general English teachers in the world creating their own original lessons. And they kind of scrapped that and got someone in Hong Kong, I think it was Hong Kong, to write standardized lessons that would be taught in every single center in the world. And they were terrible. They were not really, really good. So it made me extremely frustrated because my original work and all the other great teachers' original work was kind of discarded. So we weren't allowed to have freedom or creativity in our work. I also didn't really like the way that they treated students. So for example, for IELTS classes, some of the teachers who were teaching IELTS classes were amazing. They were some of the best IELTS teachers in the country, in the whole country where we were teaching. But some of them had never even heard of IELTS before. And I didn't agree with this. I said that only experienced IELTS expert teachers should be allowed to teach IELTS classes because it made a huge difference to the students. And their response to me was, thank you very much for telling us that, but we're running a business and we need to make money. So I was really unhappy in that job. So I decided to leave and set up my own school. And it wasn't an online school. The first school that I set up was actually a bricks and mortar, like normal school where face-to-face classes and everything. And it failed miserably. The first class only had 3 students, and the rent where we rented the classroom was higher than the fees that were coming in from the students. And I just had a baby. I was newly married. So as a man, I'm not saying that all men are have this responsibility, but the way I think of being a husband and a father is you provide for your family. So it was a huge amount of pressure and stress and financial worry where you've left a really high-paying job with regular income. It was like one of the highest paying jobs in the country for English teachers that time, to throw it all away and fail miserably. So that was a huge amount of stress, because if you're working for yourself, the rewards are your own, but the failures and the losses are your own. So if you have a normal job, it doesn't really matter if the company is in financial difficulty. Okay, you might lose your job, but you can just go and get another job. If you own your own company and it's not doing well, you do not make money and you lose money. If it does well, you make money. And that's probably one of the biggest conflicts for and both positive and negative things when you're thinking of creating your own business. But most people, and most of my friends, thought I was crazy. Most people said, just go back and get a regular paying job. But I didn't want to do that, because when I started creating my online courses and my blog and creating videos, the thing that I love more than anything is creating new things. I don't like it when somebody gives me their lesson that they've created themselves, or I don't like teaching from a textbook or anything like that. The thing that I love about teaching is creating lessons. I love doing that. I love testing them on students and seeing students' reactions. And I'm not an artist. I'm not into art at all, but I am creative in that way, and that gives me a huge amount of job satisfaction. So that was really great. And the other thing was I could see a direct impact on students. So that's one of the reasons why I like teaching IELTS, is if you're teaching general English, you can see a progression in students. But with IELTS, if you get someone the score that they need, their life completely changes. And the methods and the techniques and the strategies that I was putting on my website were resulting in people emailing me and saying, I can go to Canada, or I can go to Australia, or I've been struggling with this test for years and you helped me pass. And that satisfaction what you get from directly impacting people's lives, and you can get that in a normal job. Like, I'm sure doctors and lawyers and nurses and people like that who have normal nursing and legal and medical jobs, I'm sure, and any other job like that, I'm sure they do have a direct impact on people's lives. But if you own a company, you can affect millions of people. And they say that to make $1 million, you have to help 1 million people for free. And that's kind of why we have been so successful, is we've helped a huge amount of people on our VIP course where they pay us, and that's where we have the biggest impact. But we've also just helped millions of people who might have just needed, a little bit of help with their with how to do things. So that direct impact and helping people obviously makes a huge difference to job satisfaction and overall happiness in my life. And also I get to work from home. I really like leading my team. I really like interacting with people online. I'm not so good at interacting with people in real life. I'm pretty good in the classroom. I'm pretty relaxed when I'm talking to other students, but I'm not relaxed at all when I'm dealing with colleagues and other members of the team face to face, because I kind of live in my own head, and I'm always thinking, and I'm always kind of working, and I'm always pretty busy, and that can be strange if people are in the same room, because I find that most people want to chit chat and have small talk and everything, and I don't. I'm always trying to create something or do something. So the ability to work from home on my own suits my personality. I'm like an introverted, creative person who likes to sit by themselves and create stuff. That's perfect for me. However, that it's not all rosy. It's not all peaches and cream, as they say. There are some things that are very negative when it comes to running your own online business. Number one, especially someone like me who's putting out their work into the world every single day, you get a huge amount of criticism, and you get a huge amount of idiots commenting on your stuff. So sometimes you'll get someone who really knows what they're doing, and they'll criticize your work, and that's great. I actually see that as a positive thing. Other times you'll get people who really don't know what they're doing, and they're trolls, and they just are trolling you, and they're just maybe unhappy people, and they've decided. People are very brave when they're behind the keyboard. They say things that they would never say to your face. So the criticism is difficult to take. You have to have a very thick skin. The other thing is, when you're working for yourself, you never ever can switch off. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday or Sunday. I work 7 days a week. On average, I work 60, 70 hours a week, which is very long, considering I work from home, so I'm not commuting or anything like that. The work, the hours, and just the lack of you can never switch off. You can never ever switch off if you own your own business. So for 3 years, I have never been, and even when my wife takes me to like a beach or something like that, like I remember a few months ago we were in Vietnam and I was working the whole time, and my wife took me to a resort, and I worked the entire time I was in the resort, and my wife made me take an afternoon off, and she was just like, you're not allowed to touch the computer, you're not allowed to look at your phone. And even when I was sitting on the beach with my family with a cocktail, for that 3 or 4 hours that I took off, I was still thinking about work. It's just impossible to switch off. And I think that the important thing is that you have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to enjoy what you're doing. If you do that, you won't burn out. You'll only burn out if you're doing things that you don't believe in, or shady things that if you're ripping people off for a living, and you're working long hours, you're going to burn out pretty quickly. Or if you're pretending to be someone, like for example, a lot of young people now are setting up YouTube accounts, and they're becoming professional YouTubers. And one of the reasons why a lot of them don't last is because they're one person on YouTube and then a different person off camera. I know a couple of people, actually, people I know personally like that, and they do have big issues with burnout and with fatigue, and some have mental issues because of it. Other things that are both negative and positive, is being responsible for other people. So right now I have a team of people who help, like I have someone who helps me edit these videos. I have some people who help me with social media. I have members of my team like Michael, who help me, run the business and help you guys and all of those different things. The negative part of that is it's very stressful because you are responsible for other people's welfare, but I'm sorry, welfare wouldn't be the correct word, their livelihoods. So if I mess up, that could have a domino effect where many people have financial problems or lose their jobs, and that affects their family. So like the more responsibility you take on, the more stressful it is. I feel that anyway. So that adds to stress. So that's a negative thing. But the positive side of that is the more responsibility you seem to take on, the more, and this is going to sound very woo-woo, but the more the world rewards you. Two things. The more responsibility you have in terms of the more people that you are responsible for, generally the more money the world seems to give you. The other thing is the bigger problems that you solve, the more money you make. So, for example, Elon Musk, who is trying to solve global warming and allow human beings to become an interplanetary species, those are huge problems that he is solving, and that's why he's worth what, 60 billion. I'm solving quite a small problem, but it is, since setting up this business, it's a bit much bigger problem than if I am just a normal teacher working in a normal school. My only problem is to make sure the 16 students that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis get the scores they need. Running this, I'm responsible for millions of people, and solving millions of people's problems. And that also leads to a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, but it leads to huge financial rewards if you do it correctly. And that's true for all people who start their own businesses. The more people they help, the more responsibility they take on, and the bigger problems they solve, the more stress they'll get, the more they'll have to work. Their hours will become longer, but they'll be rewarded, and it seems pretty straightforward when you think about it like that, and it seems true to me. Finally, going to finish with something that, again, is both positive and negative, is you have to do the right thing. You have to, because if you're putting in all this work and you're doing all sacrificing, so I don't see a lot of my family, for example. I've made sacrifices for my health, for example. I never really leave the office, which means I don't exercise. I never see friends. I rarely see other members of my family. I never go on holiday. And the reason, so if you're making these sacrifices, the goal that you're trying to attain better be good. You better be doing the right thing, because there's no point in doing all this hard work to try and reach something that's lousy, that isn't worth anything. So doing the right thing, doing it properly, like creating your own materials, treating students the way that you would want to be treated, treating your team properly, being honest with people, having principles, that is an extremely difficult thing to do. And that's why so many English schools, IELTS schools, online IELTS places, what they do is the easy thing, which is like steal other people's material, create courses that don't really take much time, don't really help their students, don't look after their team. That is the easy way out. So the negative of doing the right thing is it's extremely difficult. It's really, really difficult. But the positive of doing the right thing is that you will reach a goal where my son will be able to look back one day and look at all the stuff that I'm creating online and go like, that's my dad, and he was actually trying to help people and he was doing the right thing. Where I think a lot of these people that are creating stuff online and they're not doing the right thing, I don't think they realize that their sons and their granddaughters and their great-grandsons and great-granddaughters will be able to look back one day and go like, what? He was doing that? That's not really good. So yeah, there's a positive and negative to doing things properly. I call it giving a what I say to my team is the what you need to do, the thing that makes us different is, and this will sound rude to some of you, but you give a shit. By giving a shit, it means you care. If you care about your business, you care about the people that you work with, you care about the people you help, then everything works out generally okay. So that's basically my story, and you should be able to not take that story, like not, for example, Chris Pell did this, or for example, IELTS teachers do this, or for example, the British Council. Not that the story is you can get a lot of vocabulary from it, you can get a lot of ideas from it. You can think about idea development, you can think about the positive and negatives, but just taking an academic style task 2 question and humanizing it and normalizing it and realizing that you can use real life situations and you should be thinking in that way, and that will help you answer the question. So your task is to just answer that question. Don't copy my story, but feel free to use my ideas, or use your own ideas. And I will look at them and give you feedback on them tomorrow. If you like that style, I won't be doing this every week because I don't have, weekly stories. I don't have multiple lives or anything like that. But let me know if you like that. There are a lot of other stuff that I could tell you. Let me know if you like that style. It's nice to shake it up a little bit. And as always, if you need anything, guys, just let me know, and I will be there for you. 21 minutes. Not too long. All right. Bye-bye, guys. Thanks.